Yeah, hi again. Sorry about that brief interruption. I've just had a look through the video, the first video, and it just dawned on me that I didn't really explain much about what was actually inside the book that made them so significant. It's not that it's full of scales; it's that they're full of preludes and fugues, which were obviously popular in the days of Bach, who lived in the early part of the late 1600s and early 1700s. So what we've got is not a book of scales. It's a book of pieces in one prelude and fugue in every single major key and every single minor key. And there's a book one, the first 24, and then there's the second 24 books. And talking about first and second part, we were talking about the split of the scale, that you've got the first four notes and then the second four notes. One of the things that I suppose it would be nice to introduce would be the idea that we refer to the notes of the scale as being the degrees of the scale. So you've got the I'll move up here. So we've got the in the C major scale, the first note of the scale is literally known as the first. It's also known as the tonic. The second degree of the scale, which often in music we use Roman numbers to number the degrees of the scale, is known as the supertonic. The third note of the scale is known as the mediant. The fourth is known as the subdominant. The fifth is the dominant. The sixth is the submediant. The seventh note of the scale is known as the leading note, and the eighth note is known as the octave. So that was tonic, supertonic, obviously one above the tonic, mediant, it's the middle note of the chord of C major, that's the middle note, the mediant, the third note up. The fourth note is one below the dominant. The dominant is the second most important note in the scale after the tonic, so that's the dominant fifth. So the one just before is the fourth, known as the subdominant, hence it's just below the dominant. The submediant, because it's the third note down from the tonic, in the same way that the mediant was the third note up from the tonic. So submediant, leading note, because that note leads into the octave. Okay, but going back to our two halves of the scale, they're known as the first tetrachord. Tetra, four, chord, literally notes on this occasion. The first four notes, then the second four notes. Okay, and the significance of the two halves of the scale, the first and the second tetrachord, is this: that the second tetrachord of the C major scale is G, A, B and C. But that is also the first tetrachord in the scale of G major. G major starts G, A, B, C. But then of course the second tetrachord goes D, E, F sharp and G, and that then, that second tetrachord of G major, D, E, F sharp, G, is then the start, the first tetrachord of the D major scale, which then continues A, B, C sharp, D, and that A, B, C sharp, D, I'll bring it down here, is the start of the A major scale, which then continues E, F sharp, G sharp, A. That E, F sharp, G sharp, A is obviously the start of the E major scale. The second half of the E major scale was from B, so that's then the start of the B major scale. The second half of which was F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, which of course is the start of F sharp major, which then continues with C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, we're back to our enharmonic change here. We sometimes refer to F as E sharp. Remember I was saying earlier, every letter name must appear once. So if you've got a C sharp, a D sharp, you have to have an E, even if it's an E sharp, and even though it's the same as an F, it's an E sharp and then the F sharp. It can't go C sharp, D sharp, F, F sharp, because the note of F, the name of F, is the last note of the scale. The seventh note of any F scale must be the note of E, no matter what you do to sort of use enharmonics to change the name. The note of E must be the seventh note of any F major scale, because it's the seventh note up from an F. And so we end up with, I suppose, what you could almost consider to be our sort of periodic table of music, whereby the key of F major has one flat, B flat, and those are the first four notes, F, G, A, B flat. The next four notes are C, D, E, F. So the second half of the F major scale is the start of the C major scale. As we discovered, the second half of C major scale was the start of the G major scale. So we've gone F for our starting note of the F major scale. From F major scale, the second half, we get the start of C major. From the second half of the C major, we get the start of the G major. Then up to D major, then A major, E major, and B major. So this is very important to remember. This sequence of letters, F, up 5 notes to C, 5 notes to G, 5 notes to D, to A, to E, to B. Now, for anybody that plays the accordion, though that sequence of notes is instantly recognizable as being the arrangement of the bass and chords on the left hand of a standard Stradella bass accordion. It's known as the circle of fifths, and it's the reason why the accordion is so useful for playing harmonies along with tunes on the left hand, because of the arrangement of the left hand in this circle or cycle of fifths. For those of you that don't play the accordion and will not have the familiarity of knowing those left hand chords, there's a simple mnemonic we can use, which is Father, Christmas, gave, Dad, Anne, electric blanket. But if you just remember, it starts at F, goes to C, to G, up 5 each time. Obviously we can extend this circle of fifths outwards to the sharps and the flats, and the interesting thing is that when you extend the cycle of fifths and the by using, as I say, the tetrachords, the second half of the B major scale gave us the F sharp major scale. So obviously if F major starts F, G, A, B flat, and then the second half is the same as the C major scale, then it means that that first half of the F major scale must in turn be the second part of another scale, which is the B flat major scale. B flat. The first half of the B flat major scale must be the second part of the E flat major scale. The first part of the E flat major scale must be, the second part of the, let me start that again. So you've got E flat major, the first half of the E flat major is obviously the second part of the A flat major. The A flat major, second part, first part, is also the second half of the D flat major, and the first part of D flat major you'll recognise is the ending of the F sharp major. as we would call it on this occasion, we would call it G flat major. But we've gone full circle. We've ended up back. We've sort of we've gone, in actual fact, from C major scale that had no sharps or flats. When we go to G major, it's got 1 sharp, 2 sharps for D, 3 sharps for A, 4 sharps for E major, 5 for B major, 6 for F sharp major. But F sharp major is the same as G flat major, which has 6 flats. It can seem a bit daunting, but when you actually write them down and look at them in the circle of fifths, then it'll make perfectly good sense. And I might just do a diagram of that in a future video. As I say, we've got our in effect our periodic table, as I like to call it, of keys. If you remember nothing else, if you just remember the F, C, G, D, A, E, B, that is a really, really important sequence of letters to remember. It'll help you in any theory exam. I always recommend to candidates the first thing you should do when you get in the room, write down your circle of fifths, and then you can calculate all your other questions, most of the other questions, by using that, or you can use it to check your answers. Okay, bye for now.